Hello, everyone. Okay, so how are you guys doing today? Thank you so much for joining in. Mairo is in, and we'll be going on shortly. So let me just try to bring him in. Yep. Hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you had a lovely weekend, and today also is a very it's going on well for you. Um, thank you once again for joining. I'm looking forward to a very great session today. Lots to learn and lots to share as well. So, Myra is actually on. It's just some sort of network issue, but I'm very sure it will be connected shortly. So let's just wait. Myra's wife is even here. Okay, okay, okay. Hi, Ayo. Nice to see you. Hi, Yemi. Thank you so much. Hi, who else? Who else? Let me quickly do a quick shout out. Hi, Yemi. Hi, Adewale. Let's see. Oh, Mary's here.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you
Good
doing?
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How have you been?
GBK. I've been where you left me, oh. I've been where you
And
left me.
how is the lockdown, or how is the easing of the lockdown affecting you at home? Hope it's not too bad.
No, 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 nothing affects us. We are good. We are good. How is Obodo Ibo?
We are vying. We are vying. It's
Great.
a bit cold for
Cold at this
spring.
time?
No,
Should be
it's
hot.
it's a twist. So it gets sunny, but it's
Yeah,
very windy.
yeah.
About
Regular UK.
It was cold. It was cold. No jokes. It was cold. But thankfully, it's quite sunny. It's a sunny day.
Mm,
Even though it's a bit windy, but at least the sun is compensating, and that should last for the next 1 week. So we're happy.
great. Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to church, the house of
Thank
the Lord.
Okay, so straight up, straight up, straight up. So we said today we'll be talking about ministry. That reminds me, I think I need to pin the comment. 1 second, please, because I
Yes,
was
please.
told that last time.
Yes,
So
please.
let's talk ministry, music, and family. Music and family.
Mm.
Yep, done.
Yes, please.
Post
Yes,
and pin. Perfecto. Okay, so before we dive into music and family, let's first
mm.
get to know you. So, do you mind like giving us like a brief, a little background on your early beginnings?
Okay. Do you mind if we say a word of prayer before we
Oh,
begin?
absolutely, absolutely.
Precious Father, we just bless you. We thank you. We extol you because you are the reason why we are alive. Thank you for the gift of life, for the gift of salvation. Thank you for GBK. Thank you for myself. Father, as we have this conversation and answer questions, oh God, we ask that your name alone be glorified, oh God. Speak through us, Holy Spirit, and glorify Jesus. In Jesus' mighty name,
Amen.
amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay,
You're
so I
welcome.
said earlier, early beginnings, how you grew up, school, those basic details that people
Mm.
can.
Okay. I was born into, my name is Mairo Ese, full names, well, more known as Mairo Ese. Um, I was born into a family of six. So my dad, my mom, and my siblings, four of us. I'm the first of four siblings. I have two sisters after me, and the last one is a boy. We grew up in a very humble background. Um,
Can you expatiate on that humble a bit? Just a little bit.
okay, well, so my parents were just okay people. I mean, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I don't know if I was born with a spoon, but but we were born and we were living life. In fact, the other day I was reminiscing with my wife and friends, and we were talking about our secondary school. how that in secondary school, um, you know how after a while they start chasing people from school, people who didn't pay their school fees. We didn't need them to, we didn't need to wait, or we didn't need school to even chase us. When it's time to be chased, we were always there. You understand? And you know the interesting thing, our secondary school especially, it was on the same street. This was my gate, secondary school gate. This was my house on the same street. So we were always, we never had, it was only once that my father bought textbook for us, textbooks, just one time in all our school history. You understand? So that's the kind of home I was born into. Then my father had a large heart. So my house was always full with extended family.
Wow.
Yeah, always full, always full. My house was always full. We could hardly remember a time where we spent time with our parents alone and siblings. You understand? So that's how humble our beginnings were. In fact, if I mention my primary school, no, it's amazing. My primary school, because we were born in Surulere, Ijesha. I went to Agunta Sholo Primary School. No. Agunta Sholo Primary School. And then on to secondary school. I went to Ijesha Boys Secondary School for my first 2 years, first year and second year. And then from JSS 3, we relocated to Idimu from Ijesha to Idimu. So I went to St. Francis Catholic Secondary School, which was, a pretty decent school in the area, thank God. Even though we were struggling to pay school fees, we shall managed to come out. We came out victorious.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So yeah, St. Francis Catholic Secondary School, so that was my early background. There were times when, we didn't have food to eat, and my mom was working with the Nigerian Ports Authority, but, as an accountant, and she didn't have a lot, I remember times when my dad would be broke, business was bad, and there was a particular period where there was no food. And my mom and my auntie had to go to, I think, the compound around us to pluck leaf, those leaves, to make food for us. Of course, there was no protein. Meat, there's nothing like extra. You leave the meat till you finish the swallow or the rice before you can eat this precious meat. Times when rice was a luxury, and all of those things. So that's how we grew up. There was only one day I can remember that my dad took us out to amusement park, the former amusement park in Apapa. So that's the one memory I can have that, okay, we went out to do something fun with, my siblings and my parents, because the little resources they had to share with a large family. Yeah, so that's pretty much my background. I'm sure as we discuss, I'll remember some of the things.
Thank you so much. You have done so well. So in the midst of all this, living with family and also just being accepting of that situation, how did you discover your voice?
Yeah, so I gave my life to Christ in secondary school in between SS2 and SS3, the break between SS2 and SS3. Right. So in secondary school, I wasn't born again, so I just went to church with my parents, But I realized that when we had fellowship in school in St. Francis, my Catholic secondary school, I'll be singing. I used to do a lot of these R&Bs, I loved Boys to Men and R&B especially, and we'll get all those magazines where they wrote all the lyrics. We'll sing in class, we'll sing in fellowship when we're going for, is it mass or whatever. We shall do fellowship in our Catholic school when we're, and so my classmates, especially the ladies, will be, this guy, you can sing, oh. This are you in the choir? I'll be like, me, choir, which choir? Because I was rolling with the bad boys in secondary school then, you understand? So I say that amongst all my friends, it was just myself and one other guy that, you know, I still remember his name, Olumide, that didn't used to smoke or drink or womanize amongst all of us. The
Is
one that
everyone?
I would have done, yes, that if God did not catch me on time, is I would have probably womanized.
Wow.
But I thank God. So in between secondary school, SS2 and SS3, that break, I came back to SS3 and I stopped following those guys because that's when I now met God in the break in church. I gave my life to Christ. And then I
Okay.
met, so when I went back to school, I stopped walking with my friends. I can't remember if I changed my seats. I think I changed my seats in classroom then, and I started working with the born again brethren. So
Oh,
during break time, usually they used to have fellowship. So I started joining them. So my
oh,
friends then will be looking at me and be laughing and be happy me. Kí ló ń ṣe ìwọ? Ọ̀gá ọ̀gbẹ́ni má worry. We will give you small time. You will come back. They will say all sorts,
yeah.
but I I was done by then. I'd found God. And that's because I also, one of the things that drove me, before I gave my life to Christ, I always had issues with my dad. I'm actually just remembering that now. It almost
Wow.
felt like me, I couldn't amount to anything. I wasn't serious in school. I wasn't serious with anything I did, and all of that. And I was one of those people that if every other person is doing something bad, don't do it. If you do it, they will catch you. So the day I scaled the fence in my secondary school out, that day they caught me.
Mm.
My friends had been doing it steady. The day that I decided to do, they caught me that day and they were going to suspend us in school. So of course that got my parents really upset, blah, blah, blah. You, this boy, what is even wrong with you? What's your own? Blah, 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 and so it was in that whole time, that period, I found God. So my classmates realized that this guy is not changing. As the semester, what did they call him? Third term, whatever term. The term went by. I just got serious with God, and that's when I now joined the choir. So I joined the choir, started learning things and all of that. But that's not when ministry started, but that's when I joined the choir and started singing
That
back in late 97, December 97, 98. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what kind of leads me to my next question. So you started singing and
Mm.
that was school. So throughout your, at least the last year of your secondary school was you discovering God and
Yep.
also trying to, use your gift for him. So when you moved on to the university and
Mm.
you continued singing and then ministry crept up, was this something you kind of resisted or you accepted it wholeheartedly?
I didn't think ministry. I
Wow.
didn't even think ministry. When I left secondary school, I wasn't always serious with school. Always, I wasn't always serious with school. You understand? And I mean, this is not to put a blame to my upbringing as well, because I guess my siblings turned out better in that regard. Which in terms of reading, I just never liked reading and all of that. But we didn't have a culture in the home where, they will look at, make sure that we read, do our assignments and all of those things. No, we didn't really have that. The only time I read my book was when one of my aunties, who used to be in the military, she's now in the US. She used to be in the military. Once she's coming and we see her coming from the street, down the street, we just go and carry our books. You understand? And start reading what never goes into us. Because anytime she comes to the house and doesn't find us reading, she will beat us, she will spank us. Come on, go and carry your book and read. This, that. So do you know that I didn't used to like her until much later in life. I wished that she stayed longer with us.
Mm.
I'm telling you, I actually wished she stayed longer with us. But anyways, so I finished school. I didn't get my results at a set, obviously,
Yeah.
because I'm not a read. So it took 3 years of,
Wow.
yeah, after I finished, is it 3 years or 2 years? So 98, I finished from secondary school. And then in 2000, we registered in another school. I can't remember whether I moved or Dauphin. my sister and I, she was a year my junior and even in school. So my
Okay.
sister and I did NECO. That's the first year NECO came on,
Okay.
and an interesting thing happened when we were writing our NECO. The day
Mm.
before we wrote maths, um, my dad was assassinated.
Wow.
Yeah, that was on a Sunday, day before we were writing, I think maths or something, or English, I can't remember. So my dad was assassinated, and that period was difficult for us. Um,
Write the exam. Were you able to write the math?
my sister, if you ask me how me and my sister passed that NECO exam, I can only tell you that it was a miracle,
Wow.
because we were so devastated that
True.
if
True.
because I was 18 when my dad died. My sister, my immediate younger sister, who's in the UK as well, was 17. And we were both writing the NECO exam then. So they said we must still go and write our exams. So I'll be writing in the exam hall, and my all of a sudden I'll lose my train of thought. I'll be recounting everything that happened for minutes. Time will be going during the exam hall. Then I will look at my sister in the exam hall. She's not writing. She's lost in thought as well. And so I don't know how God just did it for us. And it was that result that we used to get into,
University.
um, university. So my university story was like this. So I actually got admission into UNAD, University of Ado Ekiti. I don't know if they've changed the name now. I think they must have changed the name. University of Ado Ekiti. Some of my friends were there, so they had helped us to work it out. So as the admission came, my dad refused. Then my dad was still alive. I think in 99 or so. They were going to take me even with my not having whether maths or something. So my dad refused for me to go to UNAD. And I used
Wow.
to joke that, thank God, somehow, if not, maybe by now, I'd have become a Lujo artist. Because now Yoruba now go the Singeni and for that UNAD, you know. But somehow I didn't go to the school. And in 2000, 2001, I got into Delta State University, you
Okay.
know. And so Delta State University, I did it for 1 year. Like I said, I just was never serious with school, you know. And I was in fellowship, singing, and people knew me in fellowship, blah, 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 and all of that, I did pre-degree in
Okay.
Delsu. And so we're going to go to 100 level. Something happened. I was then in Redeemed in Lekki. That's the first time I came to the island, 2000.
Okay.
My late pastor, may God bless his soul, Pastor Tola Adepoigi, had asked that I come to. We were in Redeem in Idimu at the time together. So, but he worked with Mobile, and they made him a parish pastor. And Timida Kolo, I see you. I see Pastor Taiwo joined. Hi, people. Sorry, we're saying our life history. Uh, yeah. So, yeah. What was I? What was I again? What was I saying now?
He was made a parish pastor.
Yeah. So he was made a parish pastor, and he asked me to come to the island. So I came to the island, to be a worship leader in the church, and so I met a man. One of my life is a testimony. This God, come rain, come sun, I'm serving him because this God has been there for me. I owe everything absolutely to God. So I met this man, Mr. Kunle Ogukoya, and his wife, Auntie
Okay.
Lara. And Mr. Kunle asked me, what school are you in? Myself and my friend, Wilson. What school are you guys in? Wilson was not in school then. I said I was in Delsu. He said, which one is Delsu? I said, Delta State University. He said, what kind of school is that one? He said, why can't I go to the school that my pastor's kid is going to? I said, sir, Unilag. He said, I go to Unilag. I said, we don't have the money. Oh. He said, no,
Oh,
he will pay for it. So he paid for then I was in Delsu.
yeah.
So he told me, okay, you know what? I'm going to pay someone. So he paid a tutor while I was in Delsu to teach me maths and English.
Mm.
And then he while I was in Delso, I was studying maths and English. So I stopped going for lectures and all of that because I wanted to go to Unilag,
Yeah.
you know. And so, cut the long story short, um, I did the exams in Unilag. You know, Mr. Kunle paid for both our fees. Wilson and I was 190K each at the time, 2001, 2002. That's a miracle,
Yeah.
miracle. Till today, I still celebrate him. You
There
know,
you
one
go.
of the people that God used to really bless
The help.
us. Yeah. And so that's how I got into Unilag. That was another story. There's a testimony about that. Unilag, of course, like I said, I just was never serious with school. I remember not meeting the cutoff mark. And then um, my then pastor's wife now said, okay, go and meet the VC. I said, meet the VC. He said, write a letter to him that they should reduce the cutoff mark. You know, I actually did, dropped it with the secretary. For some reason or the other, they dropped the
You
cutoff
did.
the cutoff
Ah,
mark. That was a miracle, and that's how I got into Unilag, you know, and fees. I can count how many times my mom gave me money when I was in Unilag. She did her best. My mom did everything to make us successful. My mom didn't live her life just so that we could live and have a good life. She won't buy clothes. She will wear the same things and all of that, you know. So it was
good.
amazing, growing up like that. And so that's how I got into Unilag, and finished from Unilag. And that's the story of school. So from Unilag, I I started attending. I was in Redeemed and I left Redeemed. I was in Redeemed from 1994 to 2006 when I left Redeemed in Lekki. My then pastor then died, Pastor Tola. He died, and the pastor that took over wasn't a big fan of us, my friends and I, because we wanted things to be better. We would suggest things. Can we make our church trendy? Can we? No, 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 no. Pastor didn't like that. So eventually we shall left the church, and I ended up in TPH. The first day I got to TPH, I had gone to some other churches, beautiful churches, House on the Rock, Covenant Christian Center, because most of my friends were in Covenant, and I just thought, no, let me go to TPH. So I went to TPH. The first day I got to TPH, I said, this is the place for me. This
This
is the
is it.
place for me. A lot of people thought I would end up in City of David because most of our guys from Sovereign Army in Unilag
Um,
were in City of David. And we were hearing the great things that Pastor Escomfon, the late Pastor Escomfon, was doing. But I didn't want to go anywhere because of what they were doing for them. I wanted to be where I believe God will have me be. And that's how I ended up in TPH. And thank God for my pastor, Pastor Tony Rapu, who has also been a blessing in my life through the years. I've learned a lot in ministry, from far, from near, and so that's how I started to attend. So I joined the choir, and I went for NYSC in Kaduna, and in that period, of course, it was Equa Church that was around my village. I'm like, I don't understand what these people are saying. Beautiful church, for that area, but I thought I wanted more. So I was going to Jos every weekend, because if one of my classmates, yes, it was 3 hours, 3 hours, yeah. So every weekend I'll go to Jos. I will squat with my friend Alafia, who was my classmate in Unilag, who was serving in Jos then, and so I will go to Jos. I joined House on the Rock Jos, Pastor
yes.
Yusuf Akila. Pastor Yusuf didn't really know me until the last day, almost a couple of months, that I spent there, say probably 9 months or thereabout, until the last day. Because while I was in the choir, um, I just always remained. If they didn't call me, I didn't do anything. I was just singing. Mind you, at this time I was in TPH in the choir, started singing in the choir, but I then went for NYSC. So I remember that the very last weekend I was going to spend in House on the Rock, Jos, the choir master now said, who will try this song? He now mentioned me that I should try this song. I remember singing the song, and everybody in the choir was blown away. That
Wow.
you mean you are in this choir and you can sing like this? And you never said he started yabbing all of the choir members, the choir leader. He said, meanwhile, all of you, you'll be here coming to tell me, I want to sing, I want to sing. Look at this guy. He never for once, this,
Wow.
that. Because I had to learn that. So that day I now sang in church, and I had to go meet Pastor Yusuf Akila that this was my last day. They
Very
didn't
good.
want me. They didn't want me to leave. The whole church was like, so this guy has been here since, blah, 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 and all of that. But it was my last day. I needed to go back because my church, TPH, through my then leader, Benga Akintoku, may God bless him. He's in Canada. God bless him. He was very instrumental in my life, himself and his wife, Modele Akintoku.
Wow.
Benga had reached out to me to say, we want to pay you to work as worship leader in our church, in the church. Mind you, I was already in the choir, do you understand? But they said they needed to pay for my time. And I didn't have any other job offer. Because I thought that I would finish work, I'll be in the choir, I thought I would sing, release an album, but I didn't understand ministry.
At that point.
At that point, I didn't. Because in 2005 was when I recorded my first song through my dear friend Cobams, and shout out to Lala Akindoju, who was also instrumental in that relationship, and Cobams recorded my first song free of charge 2005, and another song later in 2007. But that album, I guess we'll get to that place, but that album didn't come out or wasn't ready until 10 years later, 2015. Do you
Wow.
understand? Yeah. So anyway, so I came back from NYC and I started working
At
with
TP.
my church at TPH as worship leader, and that's how it all started. And the realization of ministry now started, hitting me that, okay, so it looks like this is what, there were different times when I would ask God that, is this what I'm going to be doing? I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. It was what I loved doing. So I was like, so they will be paying me for what I love doing. Do you
Wow.
understand? Yeah. So I
Fascinated by that.
what did you say?
You felt fascinated by that, like
Oh
you just
yeah.
suddenly.
Like, even if you don't pay me, I'm going to do this. I love it. Do you understand? So that's how I started to sing, in TPH, started to grow. I was singing before. I was singing in Unilag. I mean, people knew me in Sovereign Army. I won a competition in Unilag then, Eden, blah, 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 whatever. So I was gradually becoming known. And then I was a part of a group, Euphoria Worship Team, which was started by my friend Femi Ogunyomi Shabak, popularly known as Shabak. So we were all there, myself, my friend Wilson Fisayo, Osi Ukeje, Jody, Pastor Toyin Pojo Yemade, Ayodotun, Lala. All of us were in Unilag then, in Sovereign Army. I remember Eva, yeah, quite a number of us,
Lot of
then.
people.
So there was
Yeah.
a background already. I was already singing, But
Okay.
coming to TPH, I learned something totally different, and all of that. So I started to grow in ministry. And so that's when ministry proper started, Let me say this last one, and then I'll let you ask whatever other question. So in 2014 of January was when officially yes, Pastor Taiwo, Euphoria was lit. Pastor Taiwo, thank you for supporting Euphoria back then. I think we were one of those who sang at the very first night of worship. Yes, Pastor Taiwo invited us. Then we used to sing. People said about Euphoria that the atmosphere over Euphoria was pure. It was just something different, And watch out, we will do something pretty
I
soon,
was going to
Euphoria.
ask, where's Euphoria now?
Everybody look at the names I mentioned. Everybody doing great things, busy. One is in government. This one is a pastor's wife doing great things. This one is in ministry. The other one is in media. So all of us just scattered. Some are acting, So, but we are talking, and something will come up pretty soon.
Come back.
Come back. So in 2014, I resigned.
From where?
After
PA.
from yes, I resigned as worship leader
Okay.
because by this time, my ministry was now, demands were being placed on my ministry from outside, and it was beginning to affect my work as worship leader, which meant that what they wanted me for initially, which was to pay for my time to be in-house, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really give that again, so I had to resign. It wasn't as easy as I'm saying it now. It was a battle. It was serious. It was tough for me, but it was a period that God used to birth some of the songs in my album, The Worship of Yahweh, which I said took 10 years. So
Yeah.
eventually we recorded the album and it was ready by 2015. It
Okay.
was a lot of battle, in that period. So I resigned, and from 2014 of January, I have been living a life of faith, working with God, to sort me out. So I don't have any salary coming in from anywhere, but God is awesome.
Okay, great. Hallelujah. So you never had
And
any.
and by the way, I resigned from worship leading, but I still remain a part of my church. I still remained and still, still a part of this present house. Yeah.
In the worship ministry of your church?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was just gonna ask, so you didn't have any form of formal employment all these days, like the
From
years?
20 from formal employment outside of work, outside of ministry.
Yeah, ministry.
No, so there was a time where I actually got pain that my salary wasn't good in the choir. I tried to, talk to my leaders then. Some of my leaders then refused to increase my salary, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're good people now, but one of my leaders then, she refused, this, that, and all of that. And I will ask God that, no, I'm tired. How am I going to take care of myself, take care of people? Girls didn't send me then because they were like, I'm a church boy. Some ladies turned me down because, because I was a church boy, what are you doing, earning salary? I didn't have a car, and all of that. That's another miracle. At some point, a family, God bless them. I know they don't like this, but I'm going to mention their name. Kingsley and Aniete Bature. I don't joke with people who God has used to bless me. May God bless Kingsley and Aniete Bature. They drove to me. I remember I was in Tim Godfrey's house one of those that day, and they said, sorry, Mairo, how are you? How's everything going? That they've been trying to sell their car, but each time they meet a roadblock. And then God has laid it in their heart to give me this car. So they asked me, do people bless you in this church and all of that? I'm like, well, not really, just once in a while like that. So they said to me that you have been a blessing to us, to our family, and we want to give you this car. And that's how I got my first car, you know.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I had driven a bus that my father left, one of the important things that my father left for me. A bus I drove in Unilag. A lot of people who went to Unilag will remember the magic school bus. We called it.
I've heard about that.
You heard about the magic school bus, so I drove that for I think my year 1 and year 2 in Unilag, and then the bus just gave up. So until
Wow.
these people gave me a car, lovely family, and I was so blessed, gave me a car. And then I went on to a second car, which was another miracle where I bought a Honda Accord, and I needed a miracle to pay the balance, 500,000 naira. And one of my big sis, I don't know if mentioning names are good, but me, I want to mention name. I'm sorry. One of my big sis, okay, Mairo Ese of Zaron, the owner of Zaron, she's in my church. And okay, walked up to me one day and said, you've been a blessing to me, and God is laying in my heart to give you something. Meanwhile, I had bought a car, and this guy had given me a time period to pay up for this car, 500,000 naira. So I had to borrow the money from a friend of mine to pay him. And that friend said she needed to use that money for her house rent. And when that time was up, I needed to cover that money, and I didn't have it. The things I was expecting, that time ministry, things just slowed down,
Mhm.
and okay, walks up to me that God says I should bless you. Come and see me in my office. And she gave me a check, which was the exact amount that was supposed to pay for the car, pay back my friend, 500,000 naira. Gave it
Wow.
to me. Bam. I'm like, this God, what kind of God are you?
Faithful Father.
I'm telling you, and that was it. I used that car for I think 2 years or a year plus. When the car I drive now, one of my uncles, that one is another story. One of the people that God has used as a pillar for me, in my life, his name, let me keep his own name. Some people know already. And he just gave me an SUV in 2014. The month after I think 2 months after I resigned from my official role as worship leader, he blessed me with a Honda, Toyota Highlander. When I saw the car, I couldn't believe it. How can somebody give me Jeep? I don't understand. Do you understand? But that's the God that we're talking about. We are on his payroll. I've been on God's payroll. And that's how I lived my life. I remember I used to dream that my cars will be given to me. This is the second car that's been given to me. By the grace of God, I gave out my first car. I first gave it to my brother, and after a while, we gave it out, to the glory of God, because I want to also be a giver, not just receiving, and, God has raised people, to just be a blessing. You understand? So, I think, so that's it.
Yes, that is so interesting. Thank you so much, Mario. You've taken us on a journey of faith and
Mm,
lots of testimonies. So thank you very much. Now, so
mm,
we're moving on to the next part. Now,
mm,
thank God you were able to, from 2014, things were looking up
mm,
and ministry was blossoming, if I'm allowed to put it that way. So when it came to that time that you wanted to settle down, like after all the girls
mm,
that were doing you shakara, and I said, okay,
mm,
it's time to settle
mm,
down. What were
mm.
the yardsticks you put in place to kind of consider who you would want to settle down with?
So now that's another chapter of my life that was a challenge, a big challenge. And I
Mhm.
must also say that I wasn't always a good boy, or wasn't always faithful to God in that regard. But my life is a life of mercy. God has shown me so much mercy, much more than I deserve, like my friend and brother sang, So, um, but I wanted to please God in everything, So I dated some really, wonderful people. I think I dated 3 people, before my wife, and they were really great people, but I went through a journey of searching for my wife. I wanted to settle down on time. I wanted to get married, but things were not happening. There was that struggle of being a church boy, people seeing you as a church boy, and all of that, who didn't want to take you for who you were, and amongst other things. But like I said, all due respect to the 3 ladies I dated, they were ready to be with me, even as I was at the time. You understand? But sometimes our eye, they live up too much. You understand? We want, that mango, we don't ripe.
We
Where,
want
you understand? But so it was tough at the time because my friends were getting married, having children. So most of my friends, my close friends, got married 5 years before me. Do you understand? So um, whenever I traveled for ministration, it wasn't easy. I go the drive for road. I go see woman. I go say, ah, God, is it this girl? Is it this one? Anyone I meet, I'm telling you, I will go to the US. I'll go to the UK. People try to hook me up, all manner of hookups. I will talk for 1 week, 2 weeks. I'm off. I'm like, no, 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 not be here, and all of that. And until, until, okay, now can I share this story publicly? Mm,
up to
mm,
you.
mm. Okay, let me share this story. Perhaps it will be good for somebody, who is watching. So there was a time, my very first girlfriend, there was a time we dated while in school, and then broke up, and she was seeing someone else. And so there was a time we both became available, and I knew that this was a good girl. I went to her house one day, and I started with my friends, and I don't know what came over me. It was like I was hearing, "This is your wife, this is your wife, this is your wife."
To the
And
other
I
lady.
thought, yes, to the other lady, to my very first girlfriend, we dated in 2007, and I thought this was a spell. Like, what's going on? Is it because I'm in a house? Did they use juju on me? Want to? My friends didn't know what was going on. So I stepped out of the house, went into my car or outside my car, and I started praying. I started binding. Lord, I cast out whatever spell, this, that. I was binding. 1 year after that, meanwhile, when everybody saw that we were now single again, all of our friends thought these guys are going to get married, blah, 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 blah. So we started talking again, but for whatever reasons, from my end, some of which I would say weren't, very, very strong reasons,
Okay.
if I may say, I didn't pursue it.
Okay.
One day I was praying. I was living in VGC then. I was praying, and I woke up. I was listening to a message. So that message, you hear a message, bam, it will ring in your spirit. That message rang in my spirit that, oh my God, it was God telling me then that that's your wife. My God. So immediately I called one of my spiritual leaders. I told her, hey, well, look at what I've done. And so she said to me, so what's up with the girl? I said, she's in a relationship now. So she said to me, don't pray against her relationship. Just go on your knees, beg God for mercy. Ask God to forgive you. That when you've done that, you will feel a release or relief, that God has forgiven you and shown you mercy. So I did that, and I actually felt that peace. Thank you, God has shown me mercy. So I then called her. I called this my ex, and I told her, look at what happened to me. Look at what I just heard. She then started to tell me that she knew. She prayed that period, she was fasting, and God showed me to her in her dream, but that she was waiting for me to speak, and I never spoke. And she told me she was happy where she was, with her then boyfriend, and she was happy, with him, blah, blah, blah. And she prayed for me.
Wow.
Yes, she prayed for me. No, she's a good girl. She prayed for me and said, Mairo, I pray for you that you will meet a good woman. That this woman will be a blessing to you. She just prayed for me. That's why till today, my wife knows I respect that girl a lot. So remember, I prayed for mercy, that God, please forgive me. So I always say, if you've heard me before, that my wife is God's mercy to me. Do you understand? It was God showing me mercy to, bring my wife. So, of course, years went by. There were things that God wanted me to stop. There were things God wanted me to stop doing. Chatting with how many ladies at a time, amongst other things, and all of that, So the
So that was
day,
like your pruning season.
yes, it was my pruning season. Matter of fact, I met my wife a year before at a program. She saw me. We were on the same flyer. I had no clue who she was. I didn't see her in the program. I didn't notice her. Nothing. But she saw me. If we, yeah.
Ayo, stop laughing.
Don't mind that. So we were there at the program, You didn't see me. I don't want to say the one that is not there. Please,
Wait, what
let me
do you
correct
mean
it.
see? Let's define that see.
No,
I
I
thought
mean, no, she
physical
saw, no, physical scene at the meeting, because we were there. Do you understand? I sang a song, Isn't that where that's where she heard the Holy Hallelujah?
Yeah, but I didn't notice you properly.
No, but you saw me. So the point, you saw, look at you.
Not on this, don't worry. Ayo,
So,
focus on the idea. Mario, focus on me.
anyway, she noticed I sang Holy Hallelujah, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is, I didn't even have a clue anybody like Ayo was in that program or on the flyer a year before. And the point is, a year before, if I saw her and noticed her, we probably may not have been married today because I was still a work in progress. God was working in me. So sometimes we're asking God, hey, this, that. He says, son, you are not ready. Let me work on you. Let me finish the work while I won't work inside you. So when God now told me some things, to cut off some things, and I asked him for mercy, everything, and I cut off, he knew I was ready for change then. He knew I was ready. This was around 2016, towards the end of 2016, you know. And I remember I was dating another, well, I wasn't dating. I was talking to a particular lady, you know, in London, a lovely lady too. But we were talking and I said to her, I'm not going to ask you out until I see you face to face, because I'd had an experience, you know. I said, until I see you face to face and we talk face to face. So I was meant to go to the UK. For some reason, I had a UK visa, visitor's visa, but I was applying for a work visa to go for administration. And they denied my visa. So this lady now asked, so what's up? So what's going to happen? And I told her the same thing. I said, if I do not see you face to face, I ain't dating. So she got angry, blah, 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 this, that, and all of that, you know. And so I refused to go on. This was November, December of 2016.
2016.
In January, the story is long. I'm just going to cut it, honestly.
Some of us know it.
The story is a story of God orchestrating our life's journey. Let me quickly share this one. So in that 2016, I didn't get that visa. I was angry. I was upset. I said, God, why? Why didn't I get this visa? My keyboardist, okay, Martins, was meant to go with me on that trip. It would have been his first time, you know, abroad too. You know, in the UK, to the UK. So he too, we were praying, God, why? We appealed the decision, nothing. They didn't get it. Little did I know that God was working behind the scene. So I met in 2016. It was also the first time I went to the US.
Okay.
I met somebody who is my manager now, you know, Mimi, and Mimi is on. She's on this chat right now. You know, God is the orchestrator of our life's journey.
Bukola.
Mimi Bukola. So I met Mimi in that 2016. She reached out to me. Oh, your song has been a blessing on Facebook. Blah, 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 blah. Kemi, I should not cut the story that is our data, is their data. So I met Mimi in through Facebook. She reached out to me, blah, blah, blah. Your music has been a blessing. Mind you, I was single then. So anybody that comes, I will check to see, could he be this person? You know, this, that. You know, and Mimi and I became friends. I remember Mimi saying she would like to manage me. And I'm like, you manage me. I said, no, don't worry, I have a manager. I don't need a manager. Do you understand? So, but before you knew it, Mimi and I became friends. We became really good friends. Mimi then insists that I come to the US. I said, no, I've been rejected once when I went to do the thing. I don't like all those filling forms. I don't want to. Mimi said, I'm going to fill it for you. We got on FaceTime. She opened this thing. She started filling for me. Said it's her mom's birthday. Her mom was celebrating her birthday. So she sent all the documents I needed. I mean, God bless Mimi. Sent everything and she filled it, practically forcing me to fill it. I filled it, cut the long story short, I went to the US. As I was going to the US, I had no idea where I was going to stay, blah, blah, blah. I was going to New York. So Mimi now reaches out to a friend of hers who is Silas, called Silas. That Silas, please, my friend is coming. You know Mairo Ese? Oh, I know the gospel artist, Mairo Ese. Okay, let him come. That's how Silas and I met in New York, right? Now, Silas and I became really good friends because of Mimi, who reached out to me on Facebook. We became friends. See how God orchestrates things.
Yeah.
That was 2016. Now, in January of 2017, Silas and I had become friends. And of course, with guy, you get babe for me, this, that, that. Silas said, yes, so there's one babe, this, that, that. I said, oh, you send picture now. Let me see picture first. If I don't see picture, I know. He now sent a picture. As he sent the picture, I said, Silas.
Whose picture was that?
Some other lady.
Okay.
Some other lady. I'm like, Silas, no, it's not this one. It's not this one. I said, there's one girl I saw on your profile.
Hey!
Do you understand? Meanwhile, I think it was my wife's birthday then, and Silas had uploaded it. Meanwhile, Silas doesn't upload things like that for ladies. Scarcely, but he did. So I saw it. So when he sent the other lady's picture, I said, no, what about that person? Who is she? And I said, oh, and she's single now, and then Silas now says, okay, I'm in Abuja. Wait for me. Let me get back from Abuja. I will organize a meeting so that we will arrange it so that it won't be as though, some ladies don't like hookups and all of that. So I said to Silas, okay. That same day, I think whether it's that same day or so, my sister, I went to do all my research, checked Instagram, Facebook. I looked at her pictures, checked everything. I saw her that she was saying, God, God, Jesus girl. I said, all these media girls and Jesus. That's how they will say Jesus.
Really?
I want to, this, that. I mean, that was my thought at the time. So I just slid into her DM and messaged her.
I was like that.
I didn't wait for Brother Silas to come from Abuja. I slid into the DM and talked to her, blah, blah, blah. We went, that was on a Thursday. By the Sunday, we went. Oh, yes, she responded. By the Sunday, we went out on a date.
Wait a minute. Friday, you slid.
Thursday, I slid into a
Thursday, you slid. Sunday, you went out.
On a date.
Hallelujah.
To one of my favorite places, Ice Cream Factory. Oh, no. Okay, no, my first date was, L'Afrique on Sanusi Fafua. L'Afrique, yes, that was the first date. So, so we spoke. After the first date, I knew, okay, this is a good girl. But I wasn't sure because I also wanted to be sure. By this time, mind you, I saw that she was a beautiful girl, but I wasn't moved by that because God had pruned me to know that it's about me, So that first day, what did Pastor Taiwo say? That first day, Pastor Taiwo say from the days of John the Baptist, the violent takes it by force. Yeah, so, so that first day at L'Afrique, one of my very good friends today, Pastor Toby Popola of MFM Lekki, he was there. He saw us on a date. And then by the time we were done and we were about to pay, they said, no, that man has already paid and he left already. Not knowing that my wife had said, on her own, another story that, oh, wow, this guy looks like he has the favor of God upon him. First date, somebody paid for our meal, and all of that, So, too hot and sound to be ignored. So after that date, we had the second Sunday, we had another date. By this time, I have two of my close female friends, Tolani Adewale, she's in the US, and Chibuzo Dangana, she's in Abuja. I was talking to them, CO, this, that, because I always will send pictures to them. If I meet a girl, I always believe this, that when you are in love, in quotes, when you are involved in somebody emotionally, you may not think deeply. You may not be able to think very well. You'll be thinking with your emotions, right? And so I always got my very close friends to check this out for me. So I told them, please check this girl out for me. So they both said, Mairo, we like this girl. That. Yeah, they both said, no, we like this girl. Meanwhile, Previously, they would tell me, no, we don't like this one, this and that. So everybody just seemed to like her. Then, between that second date and third date, God had given me my confirmation. I remember calling Nathaniel, Pastor Nat. I said, Nat, see this girl. But more pray about this girl. I told Nat about her, this, that. So we started talking, praying, and then, no, this story, the many. But like Kemi said, it's their data. They are not complaining.
So wait. I know you're gonna move to the next step, but it's gonna time off shortly. So please,
Okay.
kindly reconnect so that we continue the story. That's
If you want
okay.
to hear the remaining part of the gist. Now, guys, let me tell us something, because it will just make sure you reconnect. This is not just a story, because we are spiritual beings, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm also speaking prophetically, even in these times, and you will see it, you will experience it. And for some of you listening, you will experience the power of God, the connection, that power, the orchestrator of our life's journey, even as you listen to this. So you know that when God, the Spirit of God is upon you, we are not ordinary people. When we speak, it's prophecy. So we are
Mm-hmm.
also prophesying to people, who are single, even at these times, and all of that. If this logs out, please ensure to join us again. We'll come back on immediately. So, how many seconds do we have? How many minutes? Has it started
It's
showing you?
probably going to time out in about 5 minutes
Oh, okay. We
because
still have 5 minutes.
in about 3-4 minutes. You know what? Can we
Three
just
from
end this and then start another one? Is that okay?
Okay, guys. So we'll end this, and then we'll come right back after you save it or something. Are you saving
Yes,
it? Okay.
yes, I
All right.
am.
All right.
All
See
right.
you
See
guys
you shortly.
shortly.
Bye.
Bye.